Hi everyone, it's Libby Gredden here. I chose Read and Write Gold for this assignment because I thought that this would be an interesting subject because I had never heard of it before, and I think that I could possibly use this in my classroom after finding some research. So the history behind this project was very hard to find. I went basically everywhere. I went to the UNK website to see if there was anything at the library. I searched Google, just typed in the product, and found their website, but also found some reviews, especially this one from Very Well Family. And so while I was looking for the history, I couldn't find the history. The only thing I could really find is that they created it in 2006, and I believe that the company has changed the program because I found an article from this Very Well Family website that states that Read and Write is no longer available in a version labeled Read and Write Gold. This would explain why I struggled to find the information pertaining to this topic because the name has changed, and I think because the name has changed more recently, there's not a ton of research out there yet based off of the new program. So in future slides, I will be addressing Read and Write Gold as Read and Write because that's what it's currently called. I did find that the developer was called Text Help, and their website is listed below. From their website, they state that our easy-to-use toolbar makes documents, files, and web pages more accessible. Read and Write is a big confidence booster for anyone who needs a little support with their reading and writing at school or in the workplace. So this software basically will read any page on your computer that's up, and it can also help you with typing. So if you think you spelled something wrong, it's got a spell checker. If your grammar's a little wrong, it'll adapt it and fix it to what it needs to be. So it's kind of like a very advanced autocorrect or spell check. So when I went to look to see when and where it was created, I couldn't find where it started or when it started being used. I can infer from what Text Help's website says is that the product was started for students who struggled with reading comprehension because Text Help states Read and Write helps students understand, learn, and express themselves with confidence. So I believe that this was started for schools mainly, but then it got adapted to work in the workplace as well for those students who have learned how to use it. So when it comes to lesson planning and tiering, I decided the strategy would fit into tier 3 of the lesson plan because this software adapts to how the student types and speaks, and the software will change their words that may not be spelled correctly and make them correct. The software will also read the page to the student. The website makes it sound like you can have it read on just about anything on your computer. So you could have anything open and it'll read it to you, and you can be on any document, whether it's Word, Google Docs, anything. It's just a toolbar that will help you on whatever page you're on and do what you need it to do. So it can write what you're saying, or it can adapt what you've texted or typed. So it's very adaptive, I think, and I think it would fit the best for tier 3 because of how adaptive it is. I believe this strategy would help struggling learners or English language learners more than gifted students or your normal education students because this application can help with reading comprehension and it helps them to be able to type clearer. So whether they're struggling to type or struggling to read, this application can help them with any of that. And it sounds like it's a very advanced when it comes to like correcting and helping anyone read or type. So an example I came up with for a lesson plan is that I would include the Read and Write program in a writing lesson. As a class, we would read a story together that could be a picture book, a chapter book, anything, depending on the grade. And after reading the story, I would give a prompt that the students can write to, like 2 or 3 sentences. And I figured my tier 1 students would just write on their own. Tier 2 students would work with a partner by taking turns writing what their partner says. And then tier 3 could use the read and write application on the computer, or they could use the read and write application with a teacher, depending on how well they know the program. Because if they know it well, then they could do it on their own. But if it's new to them, then having the teacher or a para or a student aide um, help them through the process would be best. So I found 2 articles that had to do with the Read and Write Gold or Read and Write program. This first one is called How Does the Use of Text-to-Speech Application, Read and Write Gold, Help College Students with Dyslexia? So this study was done on college students, 22 college students to be exact, and each one of those college students had dyslexia, a form of dyslexia, I should say, and this article basically talked about how they used the Read and Write program, and then they did a questionnaire to say how well it helped them, or if they found it useful, or anything they got from the program, and if they would use it again. And in the conclusion, they stated that overall it was extremely useful and helpful for the college students. And I thought this was interesting that they found it useful. Because if a college student can find it useful, then I bet an elementary school student will find it useful as well, but to a different level. So taking what this article said and applying it to the elementary level, I think that because the college students had success with the program, elementary school students would also have success with the program, but at a different level. So they would need more instruction and more support with the program than the college students. But I feel that if they got that support, got all of the instruction they need, I feel that they could do this on their own. It doesn't seem like it's too difficult, and I believe that elementary school students could use this. The other article I found was called Using Technology to Build Independence in Writing for Students with Disabilities. So Montgomery and Marks took a look at all the different options for assistive technology for writing that students could use. After looking through all the different options that they had, and they did research on each one, they created an article to explain the different options out there and what each program has to offer. So they do not explicitly talk about read and write, but it's mentioned in a table that I'm going to show you in the next slide. So this table is all the different programs that they found, and as you can see, Read and Write Gold is right there, and they just did it for PC, but it's also available for Mac, just so you know. And they found that it helped with spelling and grammar, and it has a thesaurus, and you can speak it, and it also will predict what you're going to say next. So I thought that this program was pretty elite compared to the other ones. But as you can see on this chart, you may need another program to give you templates and organization when it comes to writing. So it really just depends on what your students need and all of the different factors that go into writing for that student. So if they struggle with organization, you may not want to use Read and Write Gold. You may want to use this one that's called Amazing Writing Machine because it has the organization element. So it really just depends on what your student needs and all your other students as well, because one thing won't work for all the students. So you just have to remember that when you're looking at assistive technology. So this is all that I found. I hope you enjoyed this presentation. I hope you learned something. I definitely learned that research on strategies can be a little difficult, but you can find it if you dig deep enough. Hope you have a great day. Thanks for listening.